everybody, this is the Club of the Man 1993 coming at you for another WWE special video. First before we get started, as you're wondering, what is up with this set right here? What is up with this microphone right here? Well, I'll explain that in my end of the year video review of my channel. Well, that's when I'll explain all this reason behind this new set design, but until then, let's get started with this video, which, as you see from the title, this is our video reviewing the brand split for the year of 2016. And as we all know, the brand split returned back in July, and the draft did leave some people scratching their head. I mean, it did have me scratching the head a little bit, but at the same time, I was willing to give it a chance, as I still saw some goodness. And overall, for the brand split, I'm 50-50 on it, because, well, I shouldn't say 50-50 on it, because it definitely has exposed weaknesses in the WWE, but at the same time, it is, at least in my opinion, given one show that's a consistently enjoyable show to watch on the main roster, and we didn't have that beforehand, which is why I wanted to mention also that about a week or so ago, I did read a rumor on the Cage Side Rumor Roundup thing, or whatever the heck it's called, saying that the WWE was considering going back to everyone being on both shows in 2017. I don't want to see this happening. I'd rather have the brand split. Yes, I understand a lot of people think it's too much because of the pay-per-views. There's 19 of them now because they have brand-specific pay-per-views. And of course, like, you know, Raw's roster is like has so much more star power compared to SmackDown's. I understand that, and I do agree, but on the bright side, in my opinion, they at least have one show that is good to watch on a consistent basis, and we'll get to that in a second. So what I'm going to do is at first I was going to do this video as the top 10 pros and cons for the brand split, but instead I changed my mind. I'm going to more so talk about 5 things from Raw and 5 things from SmackDown. So let's start off with Raw. Raw is, as we all know, not really been doing well since the brand split. The first Raw of the year, July 25th, 2016, which took place in my hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as we all know, was a kick-butt Raw. It was probably the best Raw of the year. It was unbelievable, and I thought, oh, maybe Raw will be so bad after all. After that, the Raw, I mean, the best it's gotten is it's had a couple solid B shows, grade-wise, but it's never had really an A show. Where SmackDown, on the other hand, has had a consistently B shows, a few shows that were a little, like, average, but no, like, shows that, like, absolutely, like, stunk as much as Raws do, especially last night's Raw. Last night's Raw was atrocious. I barely watched it. I was barely paying attention at all. So, yeah, but why has Raw not been too successful since the brand split? Number one, of course, as I say, inconsistent shows. Nothing just inconsistent on Raw. The writing is terrible. You know, it has no direction for anybody. No long-term booking at all. Nothing interesting. Just a lot of repetition, in my opinion, of everything. And I feel part of it is because, you know, Vince McMahon is continuing with the same philosophy. He really wants Roman Reigns to be that top star that everybody loves. Well, here's the thing. He can be if you book him right. Instead of just booking him as this guy who's just walking around smiling, he should be this guy who has a talent of a killer. This guy could easily be tearing people apart, but they're booking him so poorly, and even like their main event matches. Well, this first bullet point, I think, kind of like wraps up everything else we're going to talk about. So let's just get into the last 4 things for Raw. Number 2, one thing that bothers me most about Raw, and especially since they have Stephanie McMahon as the heel commissioner, pretty much, it's too corporate of a show. I feel like you don't have to have like a corporate based storyline every time. Like, I mean, the birth of the Authority back in 2013, that was great, but after the whole thing with Daniel Bryan pretty much slowed down and stopped, like that storyline there, I think they should have just laid off on the Authority, like, and not like, you know, made it so corporate, but they're still doing it, and it's just getting so old. You know, Stephanie McMahon is just this corporate jerk who's just coming in and just mugging the camera, and it's the same old thing. If they do something different, then okay, maybe. And then Mick Foley, I mean, yeah, of course we all love Mick Foley, but the thing is, like, his character is so inconsistent, and he's such a bland general manager. One week he's like, you know, fighting against Stephanie McMahon, next week he's kissing her rear end. You don't know anymore of, like, you know, what they're going to do with him. I mean, I don't know, this whole storyline with him going to try, if I thought was going to happen was them going to eventually run Mick Foley out of a job, but it's just, that's just old. We've seen that plenty of times. So one other thing about Raw is quit making it too corporate of a show. Number 3, lack of depth. As you have seen, there's some lack of depth on the roster at all. Like, they're not building new stars. They're just accepting the star power they already have and just going with that. But it's just, like I said earlier, it's just too much repetition. Like, an example, the title, the Universal title. Before I get into the laziness of that, how many people have actually gone after the Universal title since it was first announced, excluding the Fatal 4-Way matches on the July 25th Raw? Besides that, only people I remember going after the Universal title are, well, Big Cass, you can count because he was in the Universal title match, Fatal 4-Way, but besides him, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, not Chris Jericho, wow, I am so out of it today, I'm so sorry, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, and Big Cass, yeah, including Big Cass. That's just 5 people that have since the July 25th episode of Raw. Only 5 stars on that roster have gone after the Universal title. What the heck? And for the women's division, I mean, credit, the women's division has had a great year for WWE. Women's wrestling's had a great year, but on SmackDown, I think the women's division is being built great, which we'll get to that shortly. But on Raw, it's terrible. There's only right now, there's only maybe 2 or 3 women's wrestlers that I believe can be a champion, and that is Charlotte, Sasha Banks, and Bayley. Now, a lot of people I know are saying, yeah, well, Bayley is directionless, which, I mean, yeah, I can understand why you would think that, because she's just wrestling a lot of matches with, Dana Brooke and other, pointless squash matches. But, sorry. But at the same time, it's like, what else is she really going to do right now? And it does seem like, she's teased here and there about wanting to be a champion. And, but it's like she hasn't, made it known that she's there not just to fool around. She is there to go after the championship, which I think has still been shown. I mean, it just feels like she's directionless because she's wrestling all these really low card women's wrestlers that just don't feel important. Which at the same time is once again getting back to lack of depth. There's not that much depth in the women's division on the Raw roster. I mean, Nia Jax is somewhere in between, but I think she needs to get some more time on TV before they actually try to get her to the title hunt. And I mean, this feud with Sasha Banks looks like she's about to start up with could be a great way to start out with. We'll have to wait and see. Number 4, lazy writing. Yeah, as we all been seeing, I was saying, so much repetition going on here. Like, how many more nights are we gonna see the finish with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins beating down Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens? Last night, why did Chris Jericho come out and stop Seth Rollins? I thought him and Rollins, finished their rivalry. I thought we were moving on to something else. Like, Rollins finally gonna focus on trying to get his hands on Triple H. But no, they have nobody else, no other way to write it better, so they're just going to keep going over and over and over again. Inconsistency, continuity, as I keep saying. It's just such a shame. And, of course, most of the titles on Raw. First off, the Universal title design. I hate it. Everybody hates it. It's like Vince McMahon's thinking, oh, well, why don't we just, make it red? No, I mean, we can't make it just completely red. I have an idea. Everybody loves Shinsuke Nakamura. We don't want to get this big fancy design. That's too much. That's too much. So why don't we ask Shinsuke Nakamura if we could borrow a material from his jacket and just put that over the Universal title? Because that's what it looks like to me. It looks like Shinsuke Nakamura's jacket being ripped off and put as the fabric on the Universal title. And why call it the Universal title? It just, I don't know. It doesn't sound like a main event, the main event title name, pretty much for me. I mean, if we go back to just the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Championship, then okay, I think that's acceptable. But the Universal title, no. And even a week ago, they debuted the new Raw Tag titles. Same titles except just red. it just shows laziness. Like, why does everything have to be based off of just the color? Why can't it get its own unique design, and there we go? But no, that's not it. And, like, speaking of, like, lazy writing, how long have some of these feuds been dragging? Like, how long are Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens going to be just trying to brawl with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns? It's time to just let them all go their separate ways and let them do something else. And also, the other thing too is, why did they immediately rush Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns being friends again? Because, let's be real here. They should have built some type of storyline behind Roman Reigns gaining trust in Seth Rollins. I mean, we had like the stare down after Rollins saved Reigns from an attack. Like, really? I think or something like that. Oh, sorry, I just got an alert. But yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry. I was drifting off for a second. But yeah, it's like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why would Roman Reigns immediately trust Seth Rollins again after what he did to him? Like, you gotta like make a storyline of it saying, it could have been for Survivor Series. Like, instead of just having this being constant tag matches, have it, be a little bit of storyline. Like, well, I mean, I don't understand why you're trying to help me after all you did to me. It just shows right there, it's like, oh, he's a babyface now with Roman Reigns, and people love Seth Rollins, so they have Rollins working with Reigns. Now people are gonna love that. No, Vince, we're not stupid. It's just, yeah, lazy writing. And also, of course, the last one is, it always has you wanting less. As everybody keeps saying, Raw is too long. 3 hours, I mean, they've shown they can have a good 3-hour show, but I think it is really, really hard. I won't say impossible, but it's like really challenging to try to make a consistently solid 3-hour show. I mean, 3-hour show could be like, a special, a pay-per-view being 3 hours long. Okay, that's fine, but the actual Raw itself, I mean, SmackDown pay-per-views, like, SmackDown's only 2 hours long, but SmackDown pay-per-views most of them are like 2.5 hours long. I feel it's a little special, because it just makes sense. It leaves you wanting more. It doesn't have to matter, like, oh, we gotta fill up 3 hours in time. No, you gotta write a show that's based on, it's just like writing a paper, and, you don't know what to write for another page. You feel like, oh, it's too short. We gotta have it a little bit longer, and then you end up rambling on. That's what Raw feels like. All these filler segments. Like, why do I care about R-Truth, Gold Dust fighting the Shining Stars? They're nothing. They're people who aren't meant to care about tag teams. You know what I mean? It's just pathetic. And of course, the cruiserweights. Oh, don't get me started. The cruiserweights. Why are they toning down the cruiserweights? The cruiserweights put on this unbelievable show for the Cruiserweight Classic, and now they're toning them down. And now you give them their own show, 205 Live, which that's not making them look any better. It's making them look worse. It's just giving them more too much. I read somewhere the other day that supposedly ever since 205 Live debuted, since it takes place after SmackDown, and then after SmackDown, after 205 Live is when they have Talking Smack. I've heard, since that has happened, Talking Smack's viewership has gone down. So, a shout out to my friend Daniel Giza, who actually said, why don't we do it this way? Have 205 take over one of the hours of Raw. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, the cruiserweights aren't being booked well anyway, so it'll take away like an hour off of Raw. So, I mean, it would be a little bit less and not so, like, impacted with all these, like, filler segments. And because the other thing, too, something like about SmackDown and NXT is that they don't try to leap to the next level of every storyline every single week. Raw does that, and whenever they have all this spare time, it's like, oh, we gotta do something with this, and it ends up being terrible. Like the old days segment, like that was a waste of time. It's like, what are they thinking behind the creative right here? So with it always having too much on one show, it leaves you wanting less and nothing to look forward to on the next show. Like on NXT and SmackDown, it's like sometimes they'll be like have a little promo or something like that saying something like, oh, this happened last week, this, and this. But coming up next week, it leaves you wanting more. Raw has not done any of that. Well, rarely. Like last night, it said next week on Raw, Sami Zayn and Braun Strowman are going to have a last man standing match, which, okay, very different, fresh opponents for that match. Let's see how that goes. It should be a pretty exciting match. But other than that, it's like, and then of course, you know, you have a match being scheduled for a pay-per-view, which of course no one's happy about. Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns having another match at Royal Rumble. The difference this time is Chris Jericho is locked in a shark cage, but no one's gonna care about that match. Well, why do you still have the match last night for the United States title? You know, last year John Cena as the United States champion was great because he brought so much prestige back into that title. He made that title feel meaningful again with his open challenges. You know, the Intercontinental title this year has been that way ever since The Miz took over that, and some of the great matches that they've had there. SmackDown has like title matches here and there, and it makes the champion look stronger, but it makes that title feel meaningful. Like the United States title, who cares about the United States title? How often is that going to be defended? Not that often at all. No, not at all. It just drives you nuts. But enough rambling about Raw. I mean, I don't, this doesn't excite me talking about this, but it's what I want to do. So, yeah, so overall, I'm giving Raw's grade, since the brand split, a D. Because of just how terrible it has me. It has some things to look forward to, but it's a really inconsistent show. Raw is dead, as the Lex Man would say, or my friend Dan said the other day, Raw is on life support. I can agree on that. So that is it for Raw. Let's talk about SmackDown. I'll start off by saying the one thing that I don't like about SmackDown, the one thing that has me like a little disappointed, is that it hasn't really built that much depth in their tag team division yet. Like, they're giving away a lot of opportunities, which I understand that, but they haven't really built much depth in their tag team. Like, there's a lot of tag teams like the Vaudevillains, or the Ascension, or Breezango, which that team needs to end because I think Tyler Breeze deserves to have his own singles push if they would finally give him the chance. And Fandango is just pointless. Like, why is he still around? No. But it doesn't like make you believe that any of these any of these tag teams can easily be champions. It makes them. It's some are like, oh, they're good, but then some of the other ones are like, they're crap. They're not gonna get anywhere. They're just meant for like squash matches and stuff. Most of these guys have the talent, like the Ascension. My goodness, they were legendary down at NXT. Now they're a joke. When I was doing the year in review video with Dan, Nerd Coalition, and Gene from Botch Squad podcast, I think it was Gene who actually mentioned that the Ascensions has come to the main roster. I don't know if this is including their squash matches. I mean, I know they actually did beat the New Age Outlaws at Royal Rumble in 2015, but the Ascension have only won two matches on the main card. I mean, on the main roster. You had them. They ruined them. The WWE ruined the Ascension. They were just a deadly team. People that could easily be taking down people left and right. And instead of that, you make them look like jokes. So I mean, they have had decent stories for the tag titles that they've had, but I just wish that they would create a little bit more depth in that tag team division, making more teams feel like they can win. I mean, like American Alpha is a team that's like in between me. I feel they can easily be tag team champions right now if they want to, but I feel like they're trying not to rush them right away, the champions. I think they don't want them to be rushed and then just fall off after that. But I mean, they've had good storylines. I mean, the Heath Slater and Rhino, I like their storyline of them being tag champions. The Wyatt family finally becoming champions somehow. They're tag champs. I find it acceptable. I love it. But it's just try to get more depth in the other tag teams on the division as well. Because the next topic, the women's division on SmackDown. SmackDown has done a great job with writing the women, I believe. They're creating, like, it's not just about just the championship. They're actually having, like, other women's feuds, like Nikki Bella and Carmella, which wasn't too bad. And then they had, now looks like there's going to be a feud between Nikki Bella and Natalya. And it's just, the way it's written, the opportunities they've been given, it has me to believe, with the great match they've had too, that any women on that roster, maybe with the exception of Eva Marie, any of the women on the SmackDown roster, despite only being 6, well, 7 counting Eva Marie, that any of those women can easily become champion. So hats off WWE. You're creating new stars. You're making, like, Naomi, I think is a talented veteran who could easily be a champion. Natalia, somebody who she has the experience. Like, she's someone I think is helping put younger talent over. But if so, I wouldn't have a problem with her being champion. Heck, Nikki Bella, who I had a really bad taste in my mouth about her after her dragged out Divas title reign, barely defending it, just showing that they were just trying to spite AJ Lee and CM Punk by having John Cena's girlfriend become the longest reigning Divas champion. Let me see here. Alexa Bliss. She's come to the main roster, and she had a great feud with Becky Lynch, and now she's SmackDown Women's Champion, but she's been written very well. People love Alexa Bliss. Same with Becky Lynch. She's been kind of like that underdog, but she's, right now, I'd say probably the best women's wrestler on the SmackDown roster. Kind of like gave her own separation from Charlotte and Sasha Banks, so we all know how talented they are. But it's giving Becky Lynch her moment to shine also, not get lost in the shuffle. And then Carmella. The heel turn, I think, has helped Carmella's character out. I mean, she hasn't won a pay-per-view match yet, but I think most of her matches were, most of her losses, I think, were strong losses. And she has won a decent amount on SmackDown Live. So, I think, she's had a good start so far to her career on the main roster so far. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about the women's division. Number 3, going back to something about Raw. Raw, I feel this is too much of a corporate show. SmackDown, on the other hand, is not that much of a corporate show. You don't see Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon on the show every single week, but they come out there because they're promoting matches for tonight. They're not trying to get involved with storylines. I mean, there kind of is one with between Daniel Bryan and The Miz, but the thing is also is you have these lovable characters like Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, people who are looking for change and make a difference in WWE and not making it about themselves, but putting the wrestlers first, and that's what you want. It's a good choice for Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon because they've both are more considered underdogs in their wrestling careers, and they're trying to turn the underdog show into the A show, which I think they've already done that. Number 4, it leaves you wanting more. As I said when I was talking about Raw, SmackDown Live and NXT, in my opinion, do this thing where they just, review, hey, this happened last week, or we're going to do this tonight because next week, whoever does this week will do this will happen to them next week, or this happened last week, show a little promo. Well, next week we find out what's going to happen with this and this. It doesn't try to do so much in one segment on one week that the next week it leaves you like nothing, or just brings out a pointless segment, but it leaves you wanting more. Last week, 2 weeks ago, they had Dolph Ziggler win a fatal 4-way to become number 1 contender for the championship, the WWE Championship. We know he's probably not going to win it, but we expect a good match to be put on. And you make it a little more interesting though, and have Baron Corbin, who months ago had a little bit of a feud with Dolph Ziggler. I feel like it was dragging out a little too long, but you kept them away for a while. They put on one of their better matches, and then it's I think it was a double no DQ or a count or something I can't remember. So since Ziggler's number 1 contendership was on the line, they had Corbin come out, and since neither of them won, it was turned into a triple threat, giving opportunities for Baron Corbin. And Baron Corbin is somebody I think has really benefited from SmackDown Live, which we'll get to a little bit more about that in a second. But yeah, it makes your champions look strong, and that makes no sense at all. Why did I say that now? I'm sorry. I'm out of it today. But anyways, so crap. Oh man, I completely lost my train of thought. I think I already talked enough about leaves you wanting more. Let's just move on to the final part of this video, where I talk about the 5th thing for SmackDown, and that is opportunities. As I said before, Baron Corbin is somebody I think that's really benefited from SmackDown. Despite him being in a bunch of pointless feuds earlier this year since come to the main roster, I think he still won a decent amount, and especially that chairs match with Kalisto at TLC, which a lot of us thought it was going to be like an average match, but it was a pretty darn good match, and it made both him and Kalisto look strong. Like, Baron Corbin is somebody I'm expecting to really take the next step in 2017. And I think already with him trying to get into the WWE title picture is already giving him that next step. Like Dolph Ziggler, I mean, he hasn't really done much better with winning. I mean, he had a great feud with The Miz, though, but the way he's been written has been a lot better. It shows that the creative team for SmackDown is actually trying. Even like the shows where it was a little like, it wasn't terrible, but it was like more like a C show, because most of the SmackDown shows, I mean, there have been several A shows with SmackDown since the brand split, but most of them have been like solid B shows. So it's given a lot of people opportunities. Something I think can be a little more capitalized on. Like Apollo Crews is somebody who I think definitely deserves better than he's getting. I think just the problem is he was rushed to the main roster. He came up way too soon, in my opinion. And I mean, he's a great talent, but the thing is he doesn't have much of a character. That's the only problem with him. Like, he hasn't developed that character yet. He's gotten a couple Intercontinental title shots against The Miz, which the one at SummerSlam wasn't too great, but I think the one he had last week on SmackDown was pretty good. So I mean, I think he's somebody, if they can give him better writing, I think in 2017 he could excel with it. Don't put him on Raw though, because he definitely get lost in the shuffle, like how Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, and a couple other people are. But I mean, I like how it's given a lot of opportunities, and even too, it's given opportunities to have the champions shine as well. It's not constant booking like Kevin Owens' Universal title reign, where he hasn't won one match clean at all, which is pretty terrible for a Universal Champion. He always has to have Chris Jericho's help. I mean, occasional help, I mean, I understand, but AJ Styles, he's technically a heel, even though I view more as a tweener. He has cheated a little bit to win, but most of the time he's done the cheating to win. He's the one who, low blow Dean Ambrose to get the title off of him. What else did he do? He used the steel chair in a triple threat match. He took advantage of things to win instead of just trying to beat people cleanly. I mean, he did beat John Cena clean, but he's done the heel tactics himself. He hasn't gotten anybody else to help him since coming over to SmackDown Live. So, I'm sorry. But yeah, they've done great writing. The heels are legitimate heels. Like The Miz, you've literally built a legit jerk. He has won matches by himself. I mean, he's had some help from Maurice here and there, but he has proven that he can win by himself. That's something that Kevin Owens has not done as the Universal Champion on Raw. But SmackDown, though, overall, I give SmackDown's grade a B+ for the brand split, and overall for the brand split, I give it with how bad Raw is, but how good. I mean, I only gave SmackDown a B+ because it's off to a good start, but there's a couple of things to improve. Like a couple of people deserve opportunities, like Apollo Crews, improving the tag team division, but it's definitely gonna take a next step, I feel, in 2017. And overall grade for the brand split, I'd say at the end of 2016, which I'm not going to be doing these videos all the time. It's just, end of the year. Probably the next one I will do, I don't know when I will do another video like this reviewing the brand split or grading how it's been going so far, the battle between the brands. I don't know how I'm going to do that. But overall, I'd say I'll give the brand split so far a C+ because of how bad Raw has been. SmackDown's great, but it has a little bit more room to improve, but it's that show that has given you a reason to want to watch the main roster all year round. So yeah, guys, that is it. I hope this video turns out great. I mean, I know I definitely drifted off a little bit a couple times. I'm just a little out of it today. Yesterday I was really drained out from the holiday. I have been trying to record this video how many times using a couple different techniques. I'm trying to the iMovie webcam this time instead of the photo booth one, because I want to use these tools right here, which I will talk about, what's the point behind the green screen and this microphone stuff. I'll talk about that in my channel year in review, which hopefully will be up before 2017 starts. And as always, please like and subscribe to this video, to my channel for more content to come. Check out my Royal Rumble predicted match card. And yeah, just stay tuned for any other videos yet to come. Alright guys, so I'm gonna take off now because I am pretty beat and I'm just rambling on about random stuff now. So anyways guys, I will see you all later. Take care.